I quite enjoyed the last Lovecraft game I played, which was Call of Cthulhu. I mean, it was okay. I have also played the other Call of Cthulhu game years ago, Call of Cthulhu Dark Corners of the World, which started promising but soon showed its ugly face, and a lot of bugs. It was published by Bethesda after all. The Sinking City isn't based on a specific story by Lovecraft, but it's more like a fanfiction mix of a lot of Lovecraft's stories and ideas. I think this was the first open world game by Frogwares, and it really shows. It's a rather big city, which isn't really filled with anything interesting though. There are a lot of characters walking around doing their routine like smoking, eating or fighting, or most of the time glitching around. But there isn't really anything to do or collect. If you don't follow a mission or side mission, it's also not an interesting city in general. A lot of it looks the same, especially buildings. When I was about to finish the game, I decided to complete all the open side missions, and I often had the feeling that I was entering the same building over and over again. I then realized that there were the same interiors, only with minimal changes. You will also walk quite a lot in this game, and in the beginning of the game there's a lot of traveling by boat, which is just annoying and boring. Later on I used the fast travel basically permanently. That's how uninteresting the game's environments unfortunately are. There are some Easter eggs and weird paintings here and there, but overall the city is just bland and boring. But a game like this should win the player over with the story, so how is it? It starts with Charles Reed, a World War I veteran and private detective who is suffering from visions. He gets the hint that Oakmont, a city which is obsessed by the occult and inhabited by various factions and creatures, which was also recently hit by a flood, could help him discover the origins of his issues. When he arrives, he realizes that the town is basically cut off from the outside world, and that there are tensions between basically every faction in the city. One of them is the Throckmorton family, a rich family which is missing their son, who was on expedition and found an old relic which seems to have some kind of power. We soon find that Innsmouthers are involved with this missing person's case. We also have our first moral decision to make here. The Sinking City is often making the player decide between two evils, and it's never an easy decision. Usually it's between someone who has noble goals but terrible means to achieve his goals, and a terrible person who might be better for this specific decision or who was tricked. Unfortunately, I learned in the end that these decisions don't affect the ending or anything bigger than the next step for Reed. The stories are kind of interesting but not great, and I wasn't exactly on the edge of my seat while playing the game. There are also not many characters which you will get attached to. What is kind of annoying though is how people react to the stuff that's going on in Oakmont. There are cultists, Innsmouthers and guys with chopped off body parts walking in the streets. People just killing each other and some kind of creatures, but no one cares. What is even weirder is that there are monsters, actual monsters, roaming the streets and waiting in the buildings. But here as well no one cares, they just board up some streets and call it a day. Early on you kill a couple of wild beasts, which are weird looking creatures with long legs. I killed them with my shovel and then returned to the guy who gave me the quest, and he explained that I was lucky that I survived. But when these low level beasts are already such a threat, why is everyone so resigned about what is happening? Really, no one cares. There are actual streets barricaded because hordes of huge monsters are roaming the streets, but no one cares or does anything against it. And that's kind of the theme in the game. Crazy things keep happening, but no one seems to care too much about it. Reed will lose his sanity from time to time as a gameplay element, but that's it, and it also regenerates so quickly that it is not a big thing. After finishing the game, I have also to say that everything feels very inconsequential. Reed is fighting against important people, sometimes killing them, which would lead you to assume that you will be attacked by the pissed off faction, similar to GTA 3 for example, or similar games, where you get attacked in certain areas if you kill certain people in the story. But here it doesn't matter once again. Nothing matters that much. While I was sometimes engaged in the story, it was overall just okay. Except for the ending, but I will talk about that later. Now let's talk about the gameplay. The gameplay is mostly doing the same thing over and over again. You get a quest, you mark the spot for the quest on the map, you travel to the spot, find a crime scene and collect the clues by interacting with the clues. You can also open up objects or areas by finding runes and looking at them while using your ghost view or whatever it's called. Once all the clues are collected, you can often recreate the crime by entering the ghost world and bringing the scenes of the crime in the correct order. It can also happen that you get another Mind Palace clue. Combining them can lead to another hint or decision, which is offered to read, but the actual decision can still be made by read or the player respectively. It also often happens that you get information of a person, shop or event. These information can be used to search for the location in police reports, newspapers, files in the city hall or the hospital. This is mostly okay and a nice change for me from what I usually play. Only rarely the clues are badly hidden, but most of the time I had all the evidence at the crime scene. The looking for locations in archives was sometimes a bit annoying though, and it does overall get pretty repetitive. To always look for the location, clues in your casebook, pin it on the map, look for the right house, enter it while almost every time a loading screen appears, also when you get near the house and then looking for all the clues. This also happens when you get near a house and when looking for all the clues. You also have to often fight the creatures and humans, and I have to say the combat sucks pretty hard. It feels very unsatisfying as there's barely any feedback when you hit the enemy. The pistol also does almost no damage and the revolver feels the same, only it shoots slower and is less precise. There are also some gadgets you can use, like traps, which prove to be pretty useless to me. Grenades and molotovs, which are more useful, but the huge enemies you fight later on do survive a couple of them and don't really react to them. You get more weapons later on, like the shotgun, the battle rifle and the Thompson. But you get so little ammo for it that you have to basically craft ammo all the time. At least those guns are more useful though, especially the Thompson, but every time you use it you will shoot almost all the bullets away that you have. The guns also don't make sense. Let me explain. The pistol looks like a 9011, but has the caliber 38. The revolver, which looks like a 38, is supposed to be a 44. But is pretty weak for that, I would say. The shotgun, which is the same which was used in Terminator 2 by Arnie, holds only 2 bullets despite being a lever action, which should have a 5 bullet capacity at least. You can upgrade the skill and then load 4 bullets, which is also odd. Why do you have to skill putting bullets in the gun? Also, this guy is a World War I veteran. He should be able to handle guns already. The battle rifle, which is probably a Springfield rifle, holds only a single bullet, and the SMG with a drum mag holds only 30 bullets. It just doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. You also have an almost useless skill system. You don't really feel more powerful when unlocking skills. The best 2 skills are for the shotgun and being more efficient when fighting with the shovel. Everything else is pretty much useless. But there's something which makes the whole thing even more tedious. You will at a certain point just keep fighting the same enemies over and over and over again. The long-legged creatures are everywhere, but can be dealt with quickly, at least. The smaller Langolier-esque creatures are a bit annoying, but can also be killed rather quickly with powerful weapons. The ground-spitting enemies are super annoying. I think they are hit-scan enemies, but the worst by far is the huge enemy. It's very spongy, it can beat like half of your HP off when it hits you. And at a certain point it just keeps coming, it just keeps spawning. It also doesn't matter where you are in the building or outside, it will be there, it will spawn, it has a specific sound when it appears and which should frighten the player, but it leaves you annoyed. So towards the end I was only fighting the same enemies over and over again in the same buildings to earn some XP with which I unlock skills which are useless. You also fight humans, but they aren't a challenge as well. It doesn't matter, could be the actual title of the game. I also encountered a specific, seemingly unique enemy monster at some point in one of the barricaded areas, as I was looking for some other place but got lost. It was a woman monster which was huge, but there were everywhere red barrels, but I just shot them when she was close to them and defeated her in like 20 seconds or so. Then I picked up the Necronomicon. And it didn't change anything. I just found the most important book in Lovecraft's lore. And now to the end. Of course it's disappointing. But it's even disappointing for a Lovecraft story adaptation. So this here was especially disappointing, as the game is quite long and these are all non-endings, which are quickly over and done with. It also didn't matter what you did before. You just walk forward, left or right, and then interact with a shrine. Boom, you get the ending. Didn't like the ending, load the save game, go to the other shrine, boom, next ending. Didn't like any ending, boom, uninstall. It's also technically not that good. On the PS4 Pro it struggles with a stable frame rate. I had crashes and the console made some noises at points, even though what you see doesn't look that good or is that impressive. It's odd. But I guess it's just a budget or skill issue by Frogware. As I said, they don't have experience with open world games. But did I hate the sinking city? No, of course not. It's just a bit frustrating and disappointing. There are interesting ideas. There are a lot of references and homages to Lovecraft and Frogwares themselves. Like a creepy Watson movie poster. One of the quests starts with a note from Dr. West and then continues with notes from other Lovecraft characters. But unfortunately it doesn't really make anything with it, which is a theme for this game. It tries to achieve so much but ends up feeling just so surface level and like it wasted a lot of potential. There's also a plotline with the KKK. But there they only attack the Innsmouthers twice and then disappear. Everyone is already discriminating Innsmouthers. That the KKK is now only focusing on this group also feels a bit odd. Maybe there was more planned, but I can only judge what was in the actual game, and it felt like every good idea had something bad. It is not a disaster, but it is quite underwhelming. Lovecraft fans will probably find something to love here, but I, just like the game characters, didn't care at some point. I actually even prefer the Call of Cthulhu game, and the Sinking City will get a 5 out of 10.